I'm Christoph von Tomme, and welcome to the API Resilience Podcast. If you've ever wondered what it really is we do when we do APIs, and if you've wondered how APIs change organizations, our communities, and our society, look no further. This is the podcast you've been searching for. Welcome back to the API Resilience Podcast. I'm very excited to have two guests today who work at Cisco. I've got Ravi T.R and Deepak Ruhil, and they were presenting like some really interesting story at the DITA conference in Brussels a couple of weeks ago, in the beginning of, I think it was the beginning of February. And we started chatting, and I just wanted to have them as guests so that we can like double click on it and dive a little bit deeper, because I think they're working on some really exciting things around how to make AI actually work and how to reduce hallucinations and to make AI be able to act in the world with security, of course, but in a way that is going to be functional. And they have a very interesting insight that's related to minimalism, and that's why I wanted to have them on the show. So welcome, Ravi. Welcome, Deepak. Really happy to have you.
Thank you, Christoph.
Thank you, Christoph. And it's a pleasure to be on your channel and share thoughts on this minimalism and AI. Thank you.
So can we just maybe start with a short introduction? So who are you? What is your role in the company? Ravi, you want to go first?
Yep. Yeah, I have 14 years of experience in technical writing. I started my technical writing journey from Wipro. It was a service vendor. I was working for Cisco through Wipro like that. And then I moved different companies like Micro Focus, and then I met Deepak there. We became friends in Micro Focus. And then I moved to Citrix. I learned a lot about unstructured documentation like Markdown, GitHub, and everything. And coming back here, working for Splunk App Dynamics, especially this is newly introduced in our authoring environment. Earlier, we were using unstructured like Confluence. And we were acquired by Cisco maybe 5-6 years down the line. We were just App Dynamics.
Wow. Yeah.
And Cisco acquired, and then we are now part of Splunk. Yeah, lots of changes happened, and AI came along, and I thought it's a good time to invest myself into AI. Then I got my PGP-AI degree from Texas University through Great Learning. And that time there was no open AI. It was just simple AI, data analytics, and data science. After I completed my degree, actually ChatGPT and everything came around, and it said, whatever you did in data processing, I do it in minutes. So then I got fascinated in using data, AI every day for taking meeting notes and making a technical editor, writing editor, and all that. And we work with AI every day to curate the content, generate better content, and release note summaries, all that. That's about me with AI, writing, and everything.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deepak?
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Christoph. So just like Ravi, I've been technical writers for last 15 years. Yeah, almost 15 years now. And I have worked on all types of documentation from aviation to automobiles to enterprise software to, whatnot. And coming to our topic, I have always been obsessed with the idea that less is more. But in the last couple of years, AI has changed the math on that. It can generate content at an infinite scale, which makes the human skill of minimalism, I think, more valuable than ever. And that is why I was excited when you presented this topic that, we should have a conversation on that. Because I believe our job is not just to write anymore. It's to act as a noise filter for the user. So we talk about human in the loop. So we will be the human in the loop always. And I think we will be the noise filter. And I'm looking forward to hearing how you are balancing the tension between AI speed and the user's need for simplicity. Because I think there is more chaos now because of AI.
Yeah, I think like it's become really easy to generate, but like the information entropy in the message is going down.
Yes.
Because it's like I love the what's the name? There's the one of the AI models. Oh, Perplexity. I love the I love that concept of how far are you from the average or you make a model and then you calculate like how much perplexity is there in the message, like how different is it from something that would have been generated by the model, as like a quality metric or potential quality metric. And it's very, very fascinating topic. But I feel that, like creating content is very, very easy now. Creating minimalist content maybe got harder.
Yeah.
Is that is that how you perceive it? Or
Minimalistic content is not hard, but making it to specific audience, specific situation is becoming harder. Let's say I give you the description when it happened and how the issue happened, and now generate a release note summary for that. It is easy, but how to make it relevant for each user persona is going to be challenging. Yeah, again, can you generate release notes for different user personas? Definitely not a good idea, right? So you can get some bit of AI model running there. Like you write a simple content and give specific instructions to AI model to give the user persona details and summarize the resolved issues, summarize the new features for the user persona. Then the user can understand. Like delivery mechanism changed because of AI. It will generate, but you have to prompt it in a way so that the result is successful for the user. So that is where we have to use minimalism and the AI together. Write it simple, but with all the details. And enough data can nudge AI to deliver better results for the persona.
So and I just realized, like, we're talking about DITA, we're talking about minimalism. So maybe we need to first introduce that a little bit, because people listening to this are normally from the API space, and they might not be familiar with both of these concepts. Can you maybe give a short introduction, either of you? Like, what is DITA? And let's start there. Like, what is DITA exactly?
DITA stands for Darwin Information Typing Architecture. Like, Darwin is famous for evolution, and another thing he is famous for, categories, right? He categorized all species into, some are like with a backbone, some are with not backbone, like pieces, reptiles and all. Similarly, the same thing, we use it for content. This is a concept, task, reference, and it's all comprising together topic. Here we don't consider content as pages. We consider them as topics. And these are a single source file, and it can be reused anywhere. And also we can generate multiple outputs from it. Write it in XML, generate the CHM files, and develop a JSON object out of it, or develop a PDF out of it. You can transform into anything from this XML, and it has a unique nature of adding metadata everywhere. Like you can customize it, put an audience, put platform for this content, and use these variables to deploy the content in the portal for specific needs, so that you can channelize the same content and getting it in a different personas. Like you will have when we were small kids, we used to have a pen with different color inks, and click one and you get blue, green, red, and another color, right? Similarly, you have a single pen like DITA. Click on each of them, you get different personas out of it. And for authors, it is very well structured, and it is conformity. Like you have to maintain the conformity. You cannot put steps into concept, or you cannot put references into task or something. Who are have a very well understanding of concept types, they can do better with DITA. And basically organizing content. And just like our mind, if we have very unorganized thoughts and every thoughts are wild, you don't know where to focus on. But same like the content also. If you have well organized content, you know how to focus your content and channelize it. And that's how DITA is going to help product documentation. Especially in the guide field, we have different variety of guides we will provide, like deployment, installation guide, and many places we will have to repeat the content, and that time author don't have to rewrite everything, and a small step changes somewhere and he has to work on all the topics again. So those problems will be solved if you have a single sourcing and content reuse. That is the big plus from DITA, what we get from that is the big plus from DITA. And leading to AI, it gives a lot of metadata. And where AI thrives on data and structure, it makes it very easy and very the performance will just go one notch above compared to unstructured. DITA boosts this kind of performance to the AI. That's it. That is about
yeah. So you you touched on a couple of extra topics, single sourcing, and that was an interesting one, and like the ability to like define something once and then reuse it in all the different places. That is like one of the key benefits of it. Like I've heard people use it for like translations, because you can translate it once and then generate translated documentation for like a range of products. So if you have like DITA is used in mining, for example, where you have very expensive machines that are built from components, and then you can document every single component and then translate that, and it just reduces the costs. So that's been traditionally one. For AI, like. Well, I'll double click on that in a moment. So, first let's go also to minimalism. So, Deepak, can you explain a little bit about minimalism?
So yeah, first talk about Ravi mentioned about DITA. We use DITA to make our content modular, to make our content categorized, and if you think from users' point of view, anyone who's using a documentation, they don't want to spend much time on they reach documentation when they want to learn something quickly, or they are stuck, they want to get unstuck very quickly. And if you think from doc users point of view, they are already living in a minimalist world. Okay, because they don't want to spend much time reading the document. They want to spend maximum of the time, doing their job, the main job, okay, they are doing. And I think in a minimalist world and the way AI is going, I have this cool concept that, in some years, the way people are incorporating chatbots in their documentation and their portals, right? So we are heading towards the death of search bar, okay? Because in a minimalist world, users shouldn't have to reach for a search bar, okay? They should just ask the chatbot and get the one correct step that they are, getting stuck at. And if your underlying docs are not minimalist, if they are not modular, if they are not categorized well, if they do not have the enough metadata, they do not have the relationship built among different topics, that chatbot that is so helpful is going to hallucinate. It's going to give conflicting answers. And that is where DITA comes in. It provides structure to your content. And then that is why, those answers become better. Maybe in future, maybe after 5 years or 10 years, and depending on, how technology moves, I have another cool concept, death of traditional documentation guides. So probably after some years, probably we will have some, really knowledge-rich topics, or, I don't know what we will call them, information sets, or some knowledge articles. They are thoroughly written in a way that it's suitable for AI. So traditional documentation will go away. The writers will work on those documents will be fed to AI, and the people will just interact with chatbots probably. But yeah, I think this is where we are heading. But if you look at the core of it, right, the core of it is at the moment DITA is providing that structure that is helping AI to stay minimal, to hallucinate less. And because with AI, again, I'm drifting a bit, but when I think from a doc user point of view, I just want to reduce my cognitive load. I don't want to be bombarded with lots of information, and I find that information. But with AI, with its speed and scale, it can increase that cognitive load instead of reducing it. But if we guardrail the AI, if we give it proper prompts, if we are we put I'm not sure if you have seen it, horse and carriages, right? So wild horses, they have a 360-degree vision, right? Almost 360 degrees, they can see everything. But when you make them your pet, you are using them on farm or something, you put those leather straps here so that they can see only in one direction. That is what humans need to do with the AI. Otherwise, AI will hallucinate, it will go in all direction and confuse people. So I think with DITA and documentation, that's what we are doing with AI. We are guardrailing it. Yeah.
So it's the art of giving just enough context to the model.
Yes.
And not too little and not too much. That is the key.
Yes. Yeah. Minimalism is not about reducing something or cutting short something. No, it's making sure that just enough is always provided and the noise is discarded. Yeah. I'm a big fan of minimalism. Yeah. So yeah.
So how do you do this? Because practically, how does that work? Because it's very easy. I've heard stories. I was talking also with Don Stevens from the organizer of the conference. and also about minimalism and like asking about AI and minimalism. And I'll have her on the show also at a later occasion. But she said that pure minimalism might also not work, that that it might actually be too little context. Do you have any tricks for how you're approaching this problem? Like what is enough and what is too much context?
I think it depends on how well you have done your user research. It all depends on your target audience. So if you have identified your target audience correctly, then you can set the context for your minimalist approach. Otherwise, like if you have, for example, the globally available chat GPT, right, or Gemini, they cannot be minimalist, okay, because when people ask them questions, they are not trained on prompts. They don't know like how to curate those prompts, so they will just ask open-ended questions. And then if that the Gemini or chat GPT, if they are like really minimalism, they are targeting something specific, then they will not work, they will be out of business. So again, they are targeting a lot of people, okay, so their scope is really broad, and that's why they hallucinate more as well. So people need to be good with their prompts. But yeah, for an enterprise software documentation, I mean, they can really set the context because they know their customers, they know how their documentation is going to be used, so they can set the context. So yeah, the thing is like having a good user research and then curating your content around that. Yeah, I think that will work.
So I like having good user research. So I have this abstract idea, or this was the thing that I walked away from Brussels, was especially after seeing your presentation, was this because both of you, Ravi and Deepak, presented together in Brussels. I walked away with this idea, this philosophical idea of a semantic kernel, which is a minimalist set of instructions that has just enough context for an AI model to then generate other types of documentation. Do you think something like that is feasible, or does the semantic or this semantic kernel would still be written for a very specific audience? Like how do you go about figuring out what concepts you can ignore because you can assume that they're already known? Is that what this is about? Is like knowing what knowledge is already there and that you don't have to explain, or is there something else still going on? Like, so maybe okay, let me rephrase. Ravi, you were talking about the different types of topics that you can have in DITA, and this ability of DITA to evolve your own like topic. So can you maybe do a short introduction of like what are the main topics that come like out of the box with DITA, and then maybe give an example of like a topic that you could create yourself? I don't know. Have you done any specialization yourself?
I don't know whether it should be called a specialization, but minimalism is what we believe in the heart when we are putting any word into our guide, right? So, and also something he's mentioned about cognitive load. If anyone asks me a question, where are you, Ravi? And to answer that question, the load is very less, the cognitive load. Oh, why, Ravi, you did this? To explain that answer, the cognitive load is more. Similarly, when you're reading any sentence, the cognitive load builds up when you are explaining the why, right? So our job to decrease the cognitive load, meaning when I'm explaining the concept, let's say we introduced a brand new feature that can cook you a cake or cook your rice in minutes, right? Here, it's minimalistic. I'm not saying which vessel I'm using, which temperature I'm going to cook, and what ingredients I'm going to add. All this I'm not adding in there. I'm just saying this is going to solve your problem. This is where you start the minimalism steps. And then I'm going to expand it, saying, you need this, that, and like prerequisites. Another block is going to add. See, these are the questions I'm answering, the follow-ups, not the beginning. Okay. So this is how you will plan your minimalism journey. You should not say, okay, first I'll say this, ingredients is required, and then I explain the concept. It's too much variation, right? And again, someone who already have the idea what they want, and you should not explain you want this, right? They just need the prerequisite. Then you have a small snippet which will jump to that. So here you have a section, prerequisite section or prerequisite tags, which will hold that content. So let's say now we don't have AI. What we do, we will control F the page and we'll go to the prerequisite section, right?
Yeah.
If we have AI will skip all these thoughts, like thinking the user persona, what he has, and it directly goes there. If it is unstructured, it has no stop or no direction where to move it, right? Because in HTML, you will all see it as p tags. No more guidance to the scrapers, right? If you have XML where you have more tags, then it will structure it well. So I mean, I hope I'm answering the same way what you're asking. Is it, or I'm debating?
Well, it helps, I think, for people to like hear a couple of things. Like the DITA has the core topics are task, concept, and reference.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can like link them together with metadata, and then you have post-requisites, prerequisites. I've heard you name a couple of those things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a concept, when like you asked me, what happens to the content with both concept and task together? For example, what is this and how to operate on this? When you are answering this question, you have to answer both concept and task.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a combination of that. So let's say even here, if I explain the task topic and he will not have the knowledge what he is doing, then he will fail, right?
Yeah.
So there also you need to have an order, you need to have a separation. That's why DITA confirms that task cannot have what answers. It should only answer how to topics, right?
Yeah.
And when a writer sits down and uses these structured framework, it helps him to focus on that particular questions and jot down the points and list them in order so that it will help him to do minimalistic work and also answer to the point.
Yeah. You need to know who you're writing for to be able to empathize with what they already know. Because if that is someone who's completely naive, who doesn't know anything yet about your field, maybe there's more concepts that you need to explain. But like DITA allows you to do that in a modular way, so that you could have some of these concepts that are relevant for someone who really doesn't know anything about your industry yet. They're also there, but maybe they're not necessarily exposed to someone who already knows what they're doing, and so like having an idea about the personal context requirements. And that is actually, that's an interesting idea that I think right now as technical writers, the profession is about like researching like, okay, the typical persona, what context will they need?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe with minimalism, you could have like optional context that you only expose when people are new in the job, or that based on prior experience or things that they've learned that maybe you can assume that they already will know. Yeah.
I can give you an example. The recent one, there was an instruction in our guide. It says, copy the license file to your platform location or something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. And the user was like, how to copy this? The assumption was he is a Linux administrator. He knows the SCP command. He does it, right? So if I had known the user persona well, I would write copy this file to a particular location using the SCP command. I give the command there, right?
Yeah.
Here, you should not give the command to the Linux administrator is already knowing that, because he won't read the command. He will know how to execute it, right? So that is what, if you can profile it better, like, I give the code block and I say this is for the new user, only publish this. Then the deployment will understand, copy and paste the license file, and Linux administrator will understand. If it is a new user, then it will show the command also. Minimalism is effective when any writer or a tool knows the user persona very well. So today's context, if there is no AI, we used to generalize a lot. When we generalize, we used to stuff a lot of information or remove a lot of information. That's not minimalism. With AI, you have a specific context, and also as a writer, don't think too much. Make it simple, clear sentences, and allow AI to understand your structure, and it delivers to the point, and it is minimalism.
So minimalism is not about making things implicit. So it's not about reducing content, but it's about creating a very clear context.
Correct.
For which you have an explicit set of instructions.
Exactly.
Because I think this is what I presume because I'm not a writer myself, but what I presume people will struggle with is that minimalism sounds like, okay, I need to try to write as little as possible. It feels like there's a different minimalism that you need for AI than what you need for a specific persona. Because if you have a persona in mind, then you can do some of that implicit minimalism next to the contextual minimalism. So I think that there's these two dimensions to minimalism, contextual and implicit. Yeah.
And
So I used to work in aviation. So before coming to documentation, and then I wrote for, aviation documentation as well. So when we were performing some maintenance on the aircraft, because so many lives are dependent on that aircraft, right? When it's in the air. So whenever you're performing a maintenance, you are supposed to refer your documentation for everything. And then one person will read it, the other one person will perform, so that there is no confusion. Okay. So it's kind of fail safe, double check is implemented. And because of that knowledge, and then I wrote for those documentation when I moved to software. So I used to give a lot of information, okay, because I had that baked in my mind, right, that you need to cover everything. Otherwise, some issue or some other issue will happen. And then people, different stages, for example, a new admin who's just into the job, that person will really like that okay, everything is so clearly defined, everything is done, and okay. And then I met experienced administrators as well. They're like, the information that I need starts from the 4th page. Why I need those 3 pages of introduction? I already know that. I'm doing the job. I am the administrator. So yeah, the context, the time, the experience of the user, and where it's being used, it all depends. So that is why, as I was saying earlier, it's so much important to do that user research. And probably AI can help, but I think humans will do a better job at the moment in doing the user research, because we understand the nitty-gritties better, I think.
But then, because you were describing, so if you want AI to be configuring a system or something like that, then you need very implicit instructions, because you can't assume that the AI knows anything at all, or will happily make something up, but you cannot trust that it's doing the right thing. How is that then different, writing in that perspective, than what you would be writing for minimalism for people?
Okay, I take one step back. Okay, before AI, we used to write for end users, and another person was in the middle, was search engine, Google search engine, the keywords, right? You will repeat the keywords so that the topics come up in the index, and they will get the content and they read it. This is how it was working. Now AI transformed it. It is not just reading the keyword. I should say LLMs. Okay, LLMs have the long context. They're just not the keywords, right? Now, based on that, it is indexing. Correct. Now, let's take our technical writing learning to answer these questions. Now, what I should do? I should clearly set the context up front. See, this is a document that explains how to make a desktop, right?
And this goes into the short description, or where would you normally do that in the DITA topic?
Short description. Okay, I will just give the short description, and then I gave the simple intro. Okay, how delicious it is, and how it makes you happy. Such kind of information I put it in the intro. So now the AI doesn't dwell into the content; it sees a short description, and like this, it will go through many short descriptions and then pick a few, and then the user prompt, I say, hey Gemini, hey ChatGPT, I want something to eat very fresh and that makes me happy. Then your short description and the intro will bring the search. So here, your user research is required. You have to write in minimalistic way, because short description cannot be a para, right? It can be a single sentence. It should be a single sentence. So that's how you the AIs are transforming, and that's how you write it for AI. And this is how we can achieve minimalistic. And do not give the research work to the AI. Give the other work, scanning and skimming through the content, and effectively bring the content. Okay, and it should not miss the context.
So the shortest description is like the intent from the customer, that needs to be a one-on-one match with the intent from the customer.
Intent from the customer, yes.
Yeah, and then the rest of the topic actually answers
context.
So that and this is the interesting with AI is there's now two ways of influencing if your content will come out. So one is still like always the index, and there you have like, instead of keyword based indexes, now you have like token sequence based indexes. And then you also have the influence on the model, like if you have certain token sequences that you can get into the model so that your tokens, like your words that you would like to come out as like the best tool for ... is my company, then that is also something that you can influence. But that is different. That's the model influence that you need to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it is not as easy as Google indexing, because your content will go under training and then references back, right? So that's what, in this bulk of internet content, you have to write it in a way so that it directly connects with your end user. And the first point you made, the jargons, like I can say this because the product is already out. We have two versions, standard and hybrid, but internally we call it as greenfield and brownfield. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I say this is for greenfield customers, it's very vague, because what is greenfield? It can be from the farm or it can be from the dairy. I don't know what it is, right? So if I say standard is a single word, and along with that, if you add a context of a product or anything, it immediately catches it. The Gemini also catches it, even the search engine also catches it. So that's why you have to make it easily catchable, and also the context is clear what we are talking. When I say hybrid, you know it's a mix of multiple. I'm not explaining hybrid means, right? I'm saying hybrid. Every human being understands it's a mix of everything. Similarly, that context is given to AI. It understands hybrid is little more complex than standard.
Yeah.
So this is how we have to translate the jargons to the outside world. So here your minimalism idea comes into picture. Otherwise, you will think of different words, and which cannot be caught at the first instance by humans or by the AI.
So and how does this? So then intent needs to be in the short description. So that's so not in the title, but in the short description. That's an interesting one. Could you have multiple intents for the same topic? Because you could have different tokens, or then maybe it's not longer minimalism, or
multiple intents. Certainly not. I tell you, you should not think of it, having multiple intents in the topic. It means you are already deviating from the topic, right?
Yeah.
Make the topic for a single intent, and if it has another intent, create another topic. And I already touched upon the reuse concept, right? Reuse the content here if you want to repeat it. So that way, the source of truth remains at one place and percolated to another topic, and the intent is carried to another topic. So two intents given in the topic, and AI can easily see the two intents, but get the single source of truth and different context. I think
that makes sense. I'm thinking about something very specific, because we are working on solutions as you could say. Is it a specialization? It's not a specialization. But we are working with Drupal, which is a content management system that can work very structured. So you can define fields, and you can like split. You can have a very explicit content model with both main content fields and metadata that you can define. You could use it for doing something like DITA. There are some limitations, because like with XML you can like nest, and you can have there's some more you could. We've done this in the past, and anyway, so it is possible. But the thing we are looking at is how do you define, or how do you publish content so that people can find your solutions that you're offering to your customers, so that when a customer has a very specific question, like I'm trying to solve this problem, or prospect or a customer, I'm trying to solve this problem, that there's an intent match in the content, so that you can like surface a solution that answers that very specific question. Now, what I'm getting here already from this conversation is that probably you want to have a topic that is like a how question. So like probably a task that defines like how that solution solves specific intent questions. So there's a certain ideal customer for you, like one of your subsets of your customers that has a very specific problem. But that very specific problem is answered by a certain product and service configuration. like maybe some of your products, some of somebody else's products, some services that can answer that consists of a solution. But there's one solution typically will answer more than one intent question, because like an example, like practical example, like a bank account.
Okay.
A bank account is a solution that you can use to receive money, you can use it to send money, you can use it to store money. Like, and all of these are individual tasks that you could describe that are tasks that are related to specific products that you have. But then a solution still goes beyond products, because solutions are not necessarily clearly defined yet as features. But there might be emergent new things that people discover that you can do with a bank account. Like you can use a bank account to store membership dues from an organization, and then you could have a solution which is bank accounts for memberships, and then maybe there's like some special combination of APIs and a bank account, and then some things that you can do yourself or that you can ask an AI to set up for you. And then you end up with a solution for, we're the best bank to help you with membership dues because we have this solution. And then, but if you look under the hood, it's just a bank account and like some AI magic sprinkled on top. It's actually not that crazy. But because you have that solution published on your website, when an AI starts like, I'm looking for a bank account to help me set up a not-for-profit organization, then your bank comes out with that solution. And then you're winning at this, where otherwise maybe some startup that made a niche specialist solution for that specific use case would be the one that is winning. So this is the thing that I'm thinking about.
I think there's a book called Start With Why from Simon, right?
Yes.
So this is where, this is where everything boils down to. Like you mentioned, bank account is a simple bank account. Store money, save money, withdraw money, right? So here, let's say I will start with the intent. If you save money in my bank account, you're going to get 8% of interest, something like that. So here, customer asks the question, which bank gives me the more interest, or something like that. Then your possibility of your bank account or bank website comes up higher because you mentioned the interest rate in your metadata or somewhere, right? So that is what we have to, in marketing terms, you can say USP, unique selling points, right? Those you have to highlight, and that has to appear in the intent. And the question to this USP is again the user question. You have to go through a lot of search activity happening around and see what is the most number of question, what most asked question on internet related to bank account, and using that knowledge, write the intent. So that's where you can make a good match.
Let's take it back a bit to what you're working on, because you're using minimalism to like get AIs to do their job properly. It's like similar to what you were describing, Deepak earlier, like in the airplane, having like a clear checklist of these are all the steps you have to do, and they're explicitly mentioned. Is this something? Is that how I should imagine the job that you're currently doing for your company?
Little more than that, maybe. Now that level of detail, if you put, our guides will run into TVs maybe. So no, certainly software development or software industry doesn't demand that level of detail. And thanks to API, again, applications have their own communication that makes it more simplified. Here, we have to always project the user action, what user has to do. Simple, not what is happening because of this. For example, when you type in the user application, like you name, maybe address and everything, click save. You don't have to explain this data saves in the database. I know this is a backup, okay? And that's not a task for the user. Click save and don't explain what is going to happen next. It's because your UI is making it already simplified. The save button is an action button. It's already implicit. Such implicit environment is already around us. So documentation is always going to get thin, and also when somebody is reading the content, they scan in a F shape. Okay,
Yeah.
F shape scanner. So your keywords align there, and they skim through the content, they get the context. Unlike aviation industry, what he mentioned, here most of our user, they skim through the content. And when they skim through the content, if they get the context, they will follow. Otherwise, this bounce rate going to be higher. So that's how we will put the details, which is just enough, not the entire thing. This is going to be much thinner with AI. And again, what we do with that? Let's say you are on Microsoft Word and you want to know how to change the formatting of bullet or something. You can't find it in the menu. You go and ask the search bar, and it will not say open go to this bar or this go to this thing. It just says the next step, what you are already on, and the next step it will recommend. This is where our software industry is moving, and even in the network, telecom, everywhere, we just have to follow what user is doing on the application and then give the instruction.
So it's like figuring out based on the state of the interface. Yeah.
Yes.
The state of the interface.
Yes.
Yeah. And that you are able to say what are the affordances for the user, like what are the next affordances that they can take.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can go a little forward and say the most of the products are embracing Kubernetes architecture, which is containerized, and which is always sharing the communication among, right? And you have one or maximum 5 files like config.yaml and other files, which always project what is the state of the system and what user action already taken. Based on that, if you can tell the next step correctly, then your job is again simplified, and you don't have to read through a lot of pages and find the troubleshooting. And we used to have FAQ sections, I mean, a list of questions commonly asked and all that we answer. All these topics, but it is infinite, right? From technical backgrounds and aviation industry, you require a certain amount of skill and knowledge to start with. But here, like you said, the bank accounts not limited to one who knows the commerce. It is reaching everyone, right? So this is how the software is routing, and we have to reach to that level, that grains also. To do that, you have to make it more context oriented. That's why I like the idea of your stigmergy, right? Where ants really leave some bit of hint and you can follow it so that you get the answer finally. So this is how we have to plan the minimalism strategy. Earlier, minimalism was just writing it in sentences. Now it's a strategy. You have to crack down on that fashion. That way you can capture the whole thing. Yes, Deepak.
Yeah, there is a interesting, subtopic of minimalism that I really like. It's called just-in-time information, and it's very important in the age of AI actually. So what people these days are doing, especially with hands-on, especially with softwares, wherever there is a UI, even I do that. I am from the same industry, and even I do that. Like I'll figure it out. Let me just start. Okay, I'm not going to read the documentation first. I'm going to just start, and then there comes the the moment of friction when you are lost because you did not follow the first 20 steps correctly, and now you don't know where you are. And then if you want to know everything about it, know the context, then you follow your steps. Even then people are not going to read the documentation. They are going to just go to the search bar saying, okay, this is not working, what should I do next? And that's where if your documentation is not, again, the same thing, not modular, it's not context aware, then it's not going to work, right? And coming to that banking example, right? All sorts of people, use bank account because it's a must these days, right? You cannot get away with your life without using bank account. So, if you are in a geographical location where interest rates are like for example, I'll give you example from India. This decade, we are going through the era of financialization of our savings. So everybody is people from my father's age, they were more into savings. So those days were more into, okay, we are giving you this much interest rate, on fixed deposits. So that used to be the trend. And now the bank, they are they are not just banks, they have become wealth managers, they have become investment tools, and their whole pitch is all about, okay, you can invest that money that you saved in our instruments and get these much returns, much better than your savings account and all that. So again, with time and with users, it changes. Like, maybe in Europe, some other trend is going on with savings, and maybe in USA, some other thing is going on because they are probably investing in treasury bills. Japan is doing something else. So it depends. Like, the same bank account purpose is same, but depending on the time that we are living in, the kind of users, their income levels, things change, and based on that the features also change.
Yeah.
I'm using the same bank from last, oh yeah, I just realized, from 20 years. And I've seen that, I opened that bank account because they were saying you are a student, okay, and student needs money, like, it's coming from their parents, so there are no transaction charges, it's really quick, you get interest rates on your savings account, like, your idle money and all that. And then I saw the shift, like, oh, we are increasing the charges a bit, but now you have option to do these extra stuff. You can now have your account in your fingertips using our mobile app, because then everything went into mobile, be module, like, again, be mobile. And then, like, then this trend came of finance, like, don't let your savings sit idle. It's like, the inflation is eating into your savings, you need to invest. So now we have come with our investment strategy, mutual funds and stocks and brokerage account and whatnot, everything baked into that one account, one bank account. So
Yeah.
things change.
So, but there is this interplay between features that are being designed into products, which is a conscious product decision. Like, I'm going to create a feature that is going to, and there's like a very specific affordance that you're aiming to create through the creation of that feature, or that maybe it's an existing affordance that you're trying to strengthen, so that people will more intuitively find a certain affordance that was there, like, a bank account for not-for-profits, where you're collecting memberships, or like what you described, Deepak, zero transaction fees, because you don't want the money of the parents to be wasted on transaction fees. But then there's also affordances that are not clear yet, and like in this exploring, the stigmergy thing. So, and maybe if there's any, I'm very excited about stigmergy, because I think AI is triggering the age of stigmergy for software.
Yes. 200%.
Yeah. So that ant colonies don't have managers. They have an innate system that helps them to organize themselves, and they're using these pheromone trails. And like, there's certain rules about when you put down a pheromone trail in the environment, and then basically ants are thinking in their environment. So instead of having intelligence in the organism, you have intelligence in the colony that is embedded in its environment. And for me, so there's a lot of talk about, like, is AI now truly intelligent? And I think that actually is, like, besides the point, because are ants intelligent? No, but still they're showing intelligence behavior, because it's the combination of the ants, their environment, and the rest of the colony that is creating a massively intelligent behavior. Like, ants making airco and creating fungal gardens and brood chambers and anti-flooding systems and all kind of crazy stuff that you're like, how is this how are they so smart? And there's no managers, there's nobody controlling the system, but still it's able to execute on really complex tasks in a way that is contextual and appropriate, much better than if you would, like, if there would be an architecture and, like, let's figure out how we're going to design it. It wouldn't be that good. So, and I think there's a similar way that software now can work.
Correct.
And but we need to figure out, like, what is that pheromone trail? What are those technical systems, or like, ants have it genetically embedded in themselves. There's the pheromones that they know how to follow, and there's certain propensity for behaving in a certain way depending on these clues. And that has evolved over millions of years. Now, I think that our job to make AI function properly is to figure out what is that information nugget, and then maybe that is minimalism. What is that information nugget that we need to provide? What are those contextual clues that we need to provide, like, there's a pheromone trail here, so probably there's something interesting in the direction. And then also, what is the pruning of that network? So that, because otherwise, like, if there's pheromone trail everywhere, then like, not,
Yes.
ants just randomly walk around. So it's that, and I think this is more or less what you guys are working on. I think, yeah.
Especially here, I compare AI agents as ants.
Yes.
AI agents as ants, and the pheromone trials are nothing but the information nuggets.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, AI agents don't have the complete picture what they're going to achieve. Okay. And these agents coordinate well, not thinking, okay, I tell to this agent and this agent will do that. It says my job is to telling the agent. Simple. Okay. And these agents speak to each other and then perform the task for the user, end user. Okay. Now, let's talk about pheromone trials, right? Here, like, the task is, I want to know how many employees are in my system. Okay. And what I generally do as a human being, I will go to a site and then open the worksheet or HR books and then list all the employees and then count, right? Similarly, break down into tasks, give it to an agent. See, this agent is always specialized in finding the employees from the books. And this agent is specialized to count whatever it gets. Count whatever it gets. And whenever this agent gets some data, agent becomes another counting agent becomes active and he works on that. So what I'm trying to say is, unlike the traditional software mindset, you have a database and you have a front end and you combine them and start to make something work. That kind of systems are taking a structural architectural way, traditional way, but the new forward is what agents do. And to do that work, each agent has to have a personality, role, and a specific activity to do all times. And now I come to the writer's part. I hear this comment a lot. The reading or the attention span of the user is diminishing, and sometimes the next generation has the attention span less than goldfish. So, no, who will read the docs? That's the question many times I get asked. So I say, they are not, we don't write, it's not a novel. When we write a guide, we don't want people to read multiple times. If people are reading the guide multiple times, it means it's not clearly written. So the job is, we want a reader or a user to read once and understand it completely forever. So here, our users expect some work to be done by agents, and the agents has to be thorough and they have to follow the system. If they don't follow the system, it can, like, I'm running a hotel and I want agents to work on behalf of something, and it will flash some discount sale without I know, and I go into loss, right? So I want to build a principle, policy, and then the execution part into the content, just not the end user guide. Everything should be structured well so that your AI agents, the software, will work very good and execute the end user goals. Here, we are preparing the docs such a way that agents can work, get the commands, execute it in the environment, and get results for the user. This is where the way forward is. And that's where the ant stigmology, we have to follow the information nuggets. That level of thinking strategy is required from the software engineers, writers, and everyone in the industry.
One of the core learnings I've been telling people from all these talks is that we need a lot more technical writers and a lot more, because if you don't have technical writers that can actually properly describe what your AI is supposed to do, it's not going to work. But it's and it's like with ants, like it's that same ant that if it's outside of the nest and it encounters a pheromone trail, that's like, well, let's follow this and see where we're going. That might have a propensity to go hunting, because there's some specialization happening also in nests. But that same ant, when it's in a room in one of the chambers underground, and it feels like, this doesn't feel big enough, let's take some sand and walk it out of the nest. So it's the similar kind of, like, the consciousness of the system is not in the individuals. The consciousness of the system is in the aggregate, into the colony. And I think it's similarly that we're building now conscious, like organizational consciousness that is distributed, that does not have to be in its individual members. And also there's an amalgamation, because there's some people and then there's some agents in the system.
Correct.
But there's a constituted consciousness that we need to get to, so that we can build really beautiful ant nests with airco and ventilation and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, from the history, if you see, software is just an extrapolation of what we generally use: hospitals, banks, and other systems. Everything is represented in software. Similarly, this is another layer going to be added. It's like this. I mean, whenever we want to have more scale and more flexibility, human beings are good at inventing these layers. And upon that, we will, after AI, we may find out another layer to it, just to compress the hard jobs and scale the efficiency, scale the results. That we use all these products and AI, software, everything. So this has always been the core to human beings, and it's going to be. So with this, we have to be very cautious, and we have to transfer our experience. Knowledge is always there in internet, right? We have to transfer our experience. How are we going to do that? There is no USB Type-C cable which can transfer the experience to AI agents. So that is only by putting the guardrails, putting the prompts and everything structured, so that you can finally get some deterministic output. You will not be surprised or shocked by seeing the result. Ultimately, user wants to be happy, not to be surprised or shocked. So this is the theme of every documentation.
Or only good surprises. Like happy surprises users love, but not the bad surprises.
Not the bad surprises.
And how? Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So how? I think Deepak, you were hinting at this earlier, that like this minimalism, like how? So we've talked all about quite a lot of these more philosophical pieces, and then how does this actually work in practice? Like what are you guys cooking?
Before I get into that, as Ravi was mentioning, right, experience, we are able to talk about all these issues, and we are able to, understand that, we need to transfer this experience because we have seen a lot of things. And before I go into that, I have a burning question that I would like to discuss with you guys, but I will first, set the context. We all discussed, we have been working on documentation from 10 years, 15 years, right? And we have seen DITA, we have seen our documentation evolved. There was minimal UI, and then UI, UX has become so much good. And then these layers keep coming in, right? And then, things keep changing accordingly. Now we have an AI layer also. Everybody wants to just implement AI in some way or the other. They want to reduce their expenditure or their workload or whatever. So now I'm thinking next breed of technical writers. During our time at DITA Europe also, we saw that many people are getting their first draft from the AI. They are giving their requirements, getting their requirements from somewhere, and then giving it to their AI agent, and they are getting their first draft. So what if after 5-10 years, instead of, I think minimalism might be in danger at that time, because I think I have seen firsthand that drafts are becoming wordy, lengthy. And the people who approve the drafts, right? The people who approve the draft, the feature managers or the engineers, they go through the draft, and as Ravi mentioned, they skim through, right, in the F pattern. And then they see, okay, all information is there, but is it presented in a good way? Because the way a fellow writer will review that draft, or a way an engineer will review that draft, is very different than the way a user will read that draft. So yes, all information is there, but maybe that one page could have been one paragraph. Yeah. So those is it possible that in future those information nuggets, they will get corrupted because of the AI itself, and then AI fails to consume them properly, those nuggets. Because it has started a trend that's going to impact itself.
So, but how does this go? Because on the one hand, we want to create clean, succinct content, minimalistic content, maybe that is explicit, not implicit, because the machine, you can't assume that the machine has contextual awareness that you're not giving to it. So you have to give it the context to be able to be aware of what's going on. So you have to be explicit about what you're saying, but that at the same time that is minimalistic in its context slice that it's trying to address, so that you're narrowing down, like the horse, as you described, Deepak, in the beginning of the talk. Like you're giving eye flaps to the bot, so that you're only giving it a context that it needs to be able to do the job that it's looking for. How, like, writing for that? So basically, you're creating. It's almost like programming instructions. It's like those ants. Yeah. So the ants that we were talking about earlier, they have genetic programming instructions. Like when I find the pheromone trail, I follow it. Or when I'm in a space, in a nest, and this is a colony that is growing fungi, that is like the leaf harvest ants. They collect leaves and then they grow mushrooms on them, and then they eat the mushrooms. That requires a very specific set of environmental circumstances to work. I don't know how it's encoded in those ants, in their DNA, but it has to be encoded in their DNA, because I don't think that they'll learn it from each other. So the knowledge has to be there. So I think it's something similar that you guys are doing now, but for software, where you have knowledge that is encoded in instruction that is now that needs to be sufficient for an autonomous agent to be able to execute on a certain task. And it can't be too much, because then it might do weird things, and it can't be too little, because then it doesn't know what it's supposed to do, and then it hallucinates. What is it that we're doing here? Because this is you're no longer writing documentation for people in that sense. You're creating, like, I'm in love with a semantic kernel. Like it's a semantic set of semantic instructions that needs to be minimalistic, concise, and yet still sufficient for these agents to be able to operate inside of your organizational structure. Is that is what we're doing here? Is this a new type of writing?
You can say so. I don't know whether I can share the screen on the organization laptop, but what I'm going to do is I read what I've written it for the AI agent. It's a prompt template, like you said. It is not in the learning; it is in the DNA. You said, right? Similarly, for the AI agent, this is what we have put. If you are a technical advisor, you understand user problems and respond with suitable solutions by using the XML files and then the folder path and the knowledge graph information. And inputs will be user question, that is a variable, and environment details, XML folder path, and everything. And we have strictly outlined the output style for it. Briefly connect with the problem and solution in the first sentence. Learn VA profile of user and answer accordingly. Guide the user to perform next actions using knowledge graph. Explain related configuration and potential errors that may occur. These are the instructions given to the AI agent. So what I'm trying to explain here is we have this experience, right? As a writer, when we start to write the document, these are the questions we ask to ourselves and write the content, right? And why guides are made? Because everywhere you cannot install a support engineer who can help the customer. That's why guides are there. Now we want somebody who is totally virtual, who will read the docs and give the correct sort of information. And we are telling how it should be break down the content is and how you should be searching. Like, TOC, if you want to give AI, it will take the easy route by seeing the TOC. And TOC is two-dimensional. And I don't want to use TOC because it will limit your understanding and suggestion. So use the knowledge graph instead. So all these things are hard-coded in the agent. And agent has topic lookup, full text search, graphic navigation, and advisor prompt. So advisor prompt is not going to think too much. It will receive the information from graph navigation and full text search, and it will just like a mouthpiece. It will tell in a tone how I have written, like a technical advisor, like a consoling, or in an empathetic way or something like that. All these tones, it will only worry about that. And graph navigation tool, the AI agent tool, it is specialized in knowing where this path goes, what topic it picks, Okay, and then we have the topic lookup. It's like a, you can say, SQL query. Maybe it will do the querying and it will get the topics, what is in the question, and answer. Now we will take the another approach where user asks the question. One of the, I take a simple question: can submarine swim? Or can submarine swim is the question, right? If you ask this question to any adult, he says no, it is a motor, it will go, simply like that, right? How AI divides it: first it will say which is in the question. Submarine, is it a living or non-living, is it a metal or a floatable, all these things. And then if it moves, does it have motor, and then will it move. It is that level of decision making, and then find the knowledge around it and cooks up the answer. So basically what is happening with AI transformation, the decision tree is getting wider and deeper. Okay, and the problem with AI agents, or anything with data is, after some point, to excel from that point, you need more data to learn. And if it overlearns, then the results come down. It has to be learned at a right amount of content. So then it will perform or function correctly. So now we are actually in the era, we are actually found this sweet spot of that. We know what exact data that make AI function well. And agents are the new way of projecting it. It's not a new invention or something. It's just a new way of projecting our experiences out. So what is making, yeah, like he said, we are going to use it for first draft. And I don't say, hey AI, hey ChatGPT, go through my meeting notes, give me the first draft. No, we are putting a specific instruction and say, this is how you should prepare first draft. And who is going to write it? We have the experience, and we will write it, and that's how we are going to make it better. So while writing it, we have to use this minimalism tactics and strategy. Yes, Deepak.
Yeah, and I'm working on something that is kind of, a work in progress. But as I was saying that, what if future writers, those do not have this much of experience and knowledge? We have seen everything. So for those, and probably for us also, I'm working on something. I'm calling it like, in all our documentation, every organization have their own style guide. So I'm working on a broader AI style guide. Like, when you are working on your draft or working on documentation, what all you can think of, so that those agents, when they are using your information nuggets, they don't get lost. So yeah, I don't think we can eradicate all the hallucinations, but yeah, we can minimize it. So I'll share some of the topics from that work in progress. I have so far documented around 24 concepts that people need to be aware while writing in the AI era and still stay minimal. And some of these topics we discussed also during our conversation, like writing for deterministic understanding, like the intent that we were talking, right? It needs to be explicit, not implied. Okay, so that will help. And as Ravi mentioned, when we were talking about short description and stuff, right? One concept per paragraph, so that it's clear. Because AI systems, they chunk content aggressively. They don't spend much time. Mix ideas, accuracy will be gone for a toss. And then, yeah, as usual, strong information hierarchy. Like use headings to reflect conceptual hierarchy, not visual styling. Because the styling might look good, but with AI, I mean, that should be the last priority. And front loading of our meanings, like AI tools, they prioritize early tokens. We need to put the most important information in the first sentence itself. It should not be like, okay, you do everything and then I'll put an important note in the end. No, that will be, detrimental. And using consistent terminology, and define before you use, and explicit cause and effect over everything, and then structure. I mean, I can go on and on. I will probably,
It's
when
very,
it's in
very
good
useful.
shape, yeah, I will probably share with you guys when it's in good shape. So yeah, this is something that I was working on side, but yeah, it will definitely help while writing, so that when AI is actually consuming the content. And again, I'm not afraid of AI consuming the content. I am actually happy about that, because it's going to use users. I'm more worried about the people who are writing the documents. They are using AI to generate the content. Because I have seen, like, if human generated content, well defined, well structured, minimalized, and then when AI consumes that content, human developed content, it's actually doing good job. It's doing wonders. But when AI is generating content, okay, it's generated content and it's not verified by humans, and then AI consume that content, oh my god, then it's a different picture altogether.
like the entropy errors, right?
Yeah.
Just increases more and more.
Yeah,
AI,
yeah.
the entropy increases and the quality comes down.
Where are you researching this, Deepak?
I'm researching everywhere actually.
Yeah.
So I
We all
whenever
are. Yeah.
and the base for it, whenever I see like AI is flunking, when AI is not doing good job with some content, then I research the content and then I try to identify the issues. Okay, and then I'm trying to fix those issues and then trying AI and then seeing if it's improving. So then I have something concrete that okay, this is the issue, and then it's making into my style guide as a guideline. So that's how I'm doing it. I'm researching my content and the other content that I'm consuming these days. So whenever I see AI doing anything funny or funky, then I go into research mode and try to fix it and then see if it has improved. If it has improved, then I see how consistent it is with other kind of issues, and then if others can use it to get rid of that issue. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So another thing you touched on, I think both of you a little bit, was knowledge graphs, and we haven't really dug into this because I went to your presentation in Brussels because you were talking about knowledge graphs, and I wanted to learn more about how that is playing into things. How do you see the interconnection? Is a knowledge graph part of the context for your topics, or like how do you play that for models?
Okay, first is I can do one thing. I can copy this picture to the chat and you can show it in your
we can when the colleagues process it, they can reach out. or if you send it in an email, then we can add it in the show notes.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Okay, I'll send it later in the call notes. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we have each topic. When you ask a question, a random topic gets in the AI search. Now it uses these methods to get to the topic, and then it understands the complete surrounding of the content, which is the parent of this. Which topic is a parent, and which topic is sibling, and what other topics are related to this. All these things it will understand, and this makes up the context. Here, I have not written anything to the AI. This is a context, you understand this. No, we have anyway structured the guide, and the guide has the topics, and this relation is used to give a context to AI.
So basically, like, because you have a graph tool, like a graph lookup tool, basically you have implicit context available to the agent, basically.
Yes, implicit, but deterministic.
But deterministic. Interesting.
Yeah. So here the whole knowledge graph is not made by AI, is a knowledge graph created by us. We have structured the content, and understanding is done by the AI. How this is structured is done by the AI, and that sets the context. And with this context, it will answer to the user. For example,
so then you will go and fetch extra pieces from your graph to add as context. Yeah.
Yes. That's more comprehensive. Like I again spoke about the theme of the AI agent, right? It is an advisor, what to do next. Whenever the question is asked to this, it will tell what to do and why you did this. I mean, it will not say why you did this. It will kind of summarizes, you are here because of this, and then what to do. So this is how it is going to answer. This is advisor tone. But in the background, it searches with this intent. Okay, in graph, user is searching for this because he has done this and he might have to do next this. All these things become a context, and it is aware of that. The AI agent is aware of that and answers that.
So, and Deepak, does this also, like, do you have also style guides rules already for like the knowledge graph, for like how to connect topics in the knowledge graph?
Not yet. Still, at the moment, it is in a stage where it's all about what to keep in mind when you are writing. That's it. Like, these knowledge graphs, I think that is a later stage. That is, I think, advanced stage. Like, when your content is done, you have done writing, then what all you can do next. Yeah.
I mean, DITA also gives you create collections. I mean, that we have not implemented in our authoring environment. What I'm trying to say is basically the categories, right? in the beginning of the call, I said DITA gives you enough of control to make it well organized, right? So this is the place, where you categorize your content using collections, data maps, site maps, all these things. And in data map, we are using Hereto, and any tool will allow you to just export the JSON object out of it. When you pull up the JSON object, it is just ready to create a knowledge graph out of it, because it has all the relations defined within the JSON. So when you're preparing the data map, if you're just mapping correct items there, like, not the, certainly no writer will do that. If I'm writing the install guide, I will not put some other instruction which is coming from a different topic. Basically, I will have the semantic, similar objects around that, and also the order. Like, first I say install, and then I say configure, and then troubleshooting. That kind of repeated, right? Install, configure, and troubleshooting in multiple guides. And that is unsaid context is given whenever multiple samples will go into the AI agent, and every time it learns the feedback, what it says. Okay, whenever he's stuck at configuration, I will look into installation and ask questions. Has he done this? So if he hasn't, then it will go one step backward and tell do this, and then come back. So all these things we are trying out. Especially our idea is we'll write and deliver the content, and upon that we will deliver the MCP server too, and this server will read the guide and ask the user, see, I'm going to do this, to do that. Are you fine? Yes, he says run. And by doing multiple runs, like 4 or 5 clicks, his installation and the deployment is over. So the guide is
super
there.
Cool. Yes. Yeah.
The guide is there, and guide is read by the AI, and the human is also in the loop. He knows what action is going to happen, and the commands are given by the guide and the other software products. Like, it knows how to get the YAML files and understand it. And if you bring both of them together, your installation and deployment will not be this laborious or cumbersome and always tension. Did I miss this? Did I miss that? Oh, there was a note, I missed it. Oh, that's why it cracked down. No, such things can be avoided.
And you can even have like self-healing documentation or self-healing software that is like, looks like it's Clippy. Like, finally, Clippy that works. Yeah. But then like DITA maps, because that was an important one that I forgot about when we were talking about DITA. So DITA maps, they're also part of your tool sets, like look up the DITA map or...
Yes. No. DITA map is not part of AI agent tool set. Here, DITA map is used. I have exported the knowledge graph out of it.
And that's a knowledge graph. Okay.
Yeah. Knowledge graph is only given to the AI, not the data map. Because data map is certainly another XML file and will have an order, right? So it will not tell the relationship easily. So if you make a knowledge graph, then it will tell the relationship.
So basically, you're using a knowledge graph as an intermediary to feed the context window to the agent, and one of the pieces is the DITA map. But I would imagine that there's some parts that are like outside of the DITA map also, like taxonomy, like related term. Well, no, DITA, there's also defined in DITA map, but like so that this topic has a keywords, and that keyword is shared with another topic, like prerequisites and post-requisites. I don't think that those are defined in DITA maps. They're defined on the topic level, right?
Task files.
There's in the task file. Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. There's a lot more. You're working on something very, very exciting, and I loved having you over on the podcast. And I'd love to check in like sometime again. Like, so where have you gotten? Like, what have you learned? Maybe where did you get, Deepak, with the style guides? What have you learned about what works and what doesn't work in creating this Stigmergic AI? Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. Thank you very much for coming on the show and for spending the time. And thank you for sharing your work. Yeah, super exciting and curious to see where you'll end up in a couple of months from now.
Yeah, thank you, Christoph. And it's our pleasure being on your podcast. And we enjoyed speaking to you. And it's nice time we had. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
That's it for this episode. This episode of the Resilience Podcast was brought to you by Pronovix. You can learn more about our company at pronovix.com, and thank you for listening.